Alright, so here we go, another one, but this isn't my hand trap deck. This is a deck that I actually did not make myself. Someone trolled me with this months ago, and I made the deck, and it is kind of hard to actually troll folks with it. But we are going to be trolling Eldlik with this deck today, and winning in a way that I was kind of unexpected. This is a... I mean, it's a deck about heals, but I mean... You'll see. It's a healing deck, but you'll see. So they're doing their Eldlik shenanigans, and we got over here this Golden Lady Bug. And then they're gonna bring out more Eldliks. Like, okay, cool. Great. And then Ash Blossoming. Great, great. Look at that, 11,000. They just can't beat it. And then I get this card right here. So this card is key, Cauldron of the Old Man. This is actually the win condition of this deck. On your turn, you can choose to either gain 500 life points for every counter on the card, or you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for every card, or every counter on the card. In each turn during your standby phases, it gets one more counter. So they decided to Imperial Order me, which, I mean, I'll take that too. It's a slow burn, and as long as I keep healing up, I'll be fine. However, without being able to use spells, this deck does suffer to Imperial Order. It is a huge counter to this deck. Because again, the win condition is this spell card. So he goes for the big boy guns, because he's like, I need to take this guy out. So I'm like, cool, everything you discard will be banished instead of graveyard. Hoping that he would send away an Eldlik. He did not send away an Eldlik. He or she, whoever. Now, this is the other thing. Why in the world did they activate a Pot of Extravagance when they have Imperial Order? What kind of bot move was this? Where they were just gonna be like, oh, you know, let me go ahead and draw 2 here and try to draw you out here, and also I'm gonna end this on the turn anyway because I got 6k attack here. I'm gonna have to wipe you out, but let me do a Pot of Extravagance either as a flex or just because they were not thinking. Draining Shield. I will definitely take that though. Love Draining Shield. It's a great card. Well, they're slowly draining away their own life points. And then I put down Battling Boxer. Now keep in mind here, so now they've brought themselves to him. Keep in mind here though, this whole time, this card has not been gaining counters because it's been negated. So my win condition is out. But now they have reached the final moments of their Imperial Order. They can't do it again. They're gonna have to destroy it. Actually, the way I've played this game before, if you have exactly 700 life points, Imperial Order will kill you if you have exactly 700. I don't recall what happens if you have less than that. So I think it destroys itself if you have less than 700, but if you have exactly 700, it will take you out. Also, I noticed they didn't bother to attack with this guy in case this defense was more than 500, because they only got 200 life points left. At least that time, they weren't playing as a bot. Ooh. Ooh. There it is. Imperial Order is gone because they had less than 700. And now they didn't even bother attacking. Probably because they knew at this point it was game. Because I get this card, hit him for 300, and it's game. Yeah, that happened. So anyway, so let me go ahead and show you the actual profile here for this deck. This is called Heal Troll. I am working on a Limit 1 Festival deck, because at the time of recording this, that's what's about to come out, which actually seems interesting to me, an actually interesting format, theoretically, because it's limited to 1 card. And little hint here, the Limit 1 Festival does indeed allow all pieces of Exodia. So my Exodia hand trap deck, at least as best as I can get it, I may have to put in a few more Time Lords, but you'll see that momentarily. Well, not momentarily. You'll see that when I get those videos out there. But for this deck right here, again, I did not make this deck. Someone else made it, used it on me, trolled me with it. I think I may have changed a card or two. I did change some cards in this deck. So I have tweaked it to be more to my liking, but the overall idea of it, not me. So we have 3 Magicians of Faith because this deck relies on them spell cards, and if your win condition here is Cauldron of the Old Man, so if Cauldron of the Old Man gets removed, like sent to the graveyard, destroyed, Feather Dustered, Lightning Stormed, Mystical Space Typhoon, and any Dust Tornado, Heavy Duster Storm, any of those other methods of getting rid of back row, because this deck is extremely weak to back row. It's reliant on back row, and it's extremely weak to back row removal. It has no protection for it. So we need our Magicians of Faith. There's another card called Stone of something where you discard a card and then like discard 2 cards and get a spell card from the graveyard, but Magician of Faith fits the style a bit more. Now, after that, we have 3 Golden Ladybugs, and you want to keep these in your hand, mainly because you get 500 life points per card during your standby phase, per Ladybug. So if you have 3 in your hand, each standby phase is 1500 life points. We have Performapal Curry Bobble. This card is amazing. It's like an improved Battling Boxer. Because the Curry Babble, the moment someone attacks, you can just be like, nah, you attacking me, and then you're, and then you get the life point difference instead if you put them in attack mode. Or if it's a card that does double piercing for defense damage, then you put, like, say, Chaos, Blue Eyes Chaos Max or whatever. You could put Performapal Curry Bobble in defense mode and get double the life points for you. Battling Boxer is nice as well. You have to at least be able to survive the attack, but once you survive the attack, you special summon it, get those life points back. 1 Swords of Revealing Light, because, really only 1. But you also need life point protection. This deck does indeed need life point protection. This whole deck is about healing, but, there are decks that just summon a flood of boss monsters, and so, sometimes you do need those 3 turns. Card of Demise is great for this deck. Draw 3. You can make it to where you draw 3, like I did in the duel there. And yeah, because draw power, you definitely need that for this deck. Same with One Day of Peace. Love it for this deck. Much better than Upstart Goblin because you get that life point protection as well. We're not really concerned with our opponent also drawing a card. We don't care. Life point protection is what we primarily care about. Ledger of Ledgermane. Now I did sub this card out. This deck originally had 3 Pots of Desires to banish 10 cards from the deck, but what you don't want to do is banish any of your win condition, which is literally just this card right here. I didn't like that risk. However, the deck does play on Soul Absorption, which gives you 500 for each card banished. So banishing 10 cards, that was 5k life points right there. But Ledger of Ledgermane is a very nice compromise. You banish 3 cards, get you 1500 life points if one of your 3 Soul Absorptions is on the field. And then you also get those cards back later, so you don't just give them up. You don't get your draw power immediately when you play it, but as a delayed draw, it is my favorite delayed draw card. Now, after this, we have 3 Pots of Extravagances because we don't use the extra deck at all. So Pots of Extravagance definitely help out, especially if you got Soul Absorption, then it's even better. But it's like that nice pot of greed there. Spell Absorption is key to gaining life points as well. It's one of the bigger players for it. Now in the duel, you saw a card there that you don't see here. In the duel, you saw Mystic Walk, which is good. You get to sacrifice a monster, typically Battle and Boxer, the only monster that stays there, and gain those life points real quick. I found that not to be helpful when it came to surviving, turns and getting life point damage. So I took that out. There was also a card in the original deck that lets you destroy spell and trap cards on your side of the field and gain 1,000 points for each card that you destroyed. I forget what that spell card is called. I took that out of this deck. The card was useful because it's very easy to lock up your zone in this deck because, again, most of these cards are spell and traps. I also took out, as you can see in the other deck, I took out the Draining Shield. I did take it out because the Draining Shield does target. And unfortunately in today's meta, to try and make this deck more consistent, there's a lot of monsters that cannot be targeted, which made Draining Shield absolutely worthless. However, disruption cards like Dimensional Fissure definitely helped out this deck. Because, banishing monsters instead of just letting them cycle to the graveyard over and over and back to the deck and graveyard and whatnot. Now, there are a few decks that don't care if monsters are banished, but most decks don't care about the graveyard. So just banishing them does help. Also, on our end, we only have a few monsters anyway, and we have no way to retrieve monsters when they are in the graveyard. So any monster sent to the graveyard in this deck might as well be banished. Now, Dawn Thousand's Throne. I have one of this. I think this was in the original deck, and I think maybe only once have I actually used it in a duel. But during each of the end phase, you gain life points equal to the number of times you took battle damage this turn times 500. So at the most, you could get 3k life points if you had 6 monsters attack you, and you somehow survived, which is possible with this deck. If you can get Cauldron of the Old Man early on, even just one if it takes a while, but if you can get 2 on the field early on and keep them on the field, along with a spell absorption, maybe a soul absorption, something to set up your field, and golden ladybugs, it is entirely possible to survive big boss monster hits. Because as I was trolled with this deck the first time I came across it, the person had 2 of these Cauldron of the Old Mans. I'd already used up my Feather Duster, and that was my only back row removal for the deck I was using at that time. And I had all my boss monsters out, and it was not enough. They were outpacing me with life points. And I was waiting for another card I had that could remove some back row, but I never got to it in time, and then they did the burn and took me out. I did add Quaking Mirror Force to this deck, 2 of them, because Quaking Mirror Force puts these monsters in face down defense position rather than return them to the hand, like the Storming Mirror Force. Monsters returned to the hand typically can be summoned again pretty easily in today's meta, so it's much more beneficial for me to just put them face down to where they can't be used for anything, except for maybe certain fusions or certain links. Actually, no, I think for links they have to be face up, so I think it's certain fusions. That Quaking Mirror Force has actually saved this deck quite a few times in other duels that were not on there. It made the game last longer anyways. So I have 2 of those. We have Solemn Wishes on the field because, 500 life points every time you draw. Each time you draw a card. That's nice. We have Skill Drain because this deck does not care about Skill Drain. Skill Drain does absolutely nothing to this deck. Therefore, it is entirely optimal to use, especially with opponents who, can't be targeted, or opponents who have cards that say, your opponent cannot activate or can negate anytime something is activated, negate spells, negate stuff. It protects against monster effects. It's absolutely useful. Macrocosmos, again, just like Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos were just, trying to make the deck more consistent, something to help the deck win, make it harder for your opponent to take you out. And then Soul Drain for the graveyard. Again, we don't use graveyard abilities, we only use hand abilities here. Well, except for field. I do take that back. Skill Drain does clash against Magician of Faith. That's the only thing it does clash against. So it's worth it. 1 Skill Drain, 3 Magicians of Faith. It's worth it in this deck. But Soul Drain clashes against absolutely nothing in this deck. And we recuperate all of these life points. I thought about putting in some Solemns in here, because of all the life points we gain, we can just mitigate the Solemns entirely. But if you're gonna do that, you might as well run that Pendulum monster that like makes you pay nothing for Solemns, and then you might as well just run that type of deck at that point. So that's the deck, y'all. The extra deck can be anything because it doesn't matter, we don't use it. But anyways, that's the deck. This video did turn out to be a bit longer than I thought it would be, but hey, thanks for sticking by. I hope you enjoy it. The next decks I upload, next videos I upload will be for the Back to the Hand Trap deck. I got some more duels with that. For the, and like I said, for the upcoming one-of-a-kind event, this is the current version that I have. Might as well go ahead and show it because we're here just a sneak peek of what I'm currently working on here. The extra deck is kind of odd. I'm still able to summon Zeus with this current setup, but when you're only able to have one of each, they do allow Exodia, so that's something I'm more excited about. But only being able to have one of each type of hand trap, that does make it a bit difficult. So I did have to go in and add more Time Lords, which again, they're kind of a compromise for my theme with a hand trap, because as you know, I don't like stuff to stay on the field. That's the whole point of the hand trap. I don't have anything on the field. Time Lords are because they stay on the field. I have, you know, one kaiju just in case. Probably should add another, but you know, we're going mostly for Time Lords here. But I only have a few level 1s if you don't count the pieces. So I still got, you know, Relinquish Anima, still got Linkuriboh. I'm still able to summon Zeus by doing the Slacker to Downerd to Zeus. Hulk is banned for the one-on-one, and so is Predaplant. Also, Destiny Fusion is also banned. So, now they didn't ban Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix entirely, but they did ban Destiny Fusion, and they did ban Predaplant. I still have them in here because I also added a Pot of Extravagance. There's only a few extra deck monsters that I'll really be able to likely summon in this format. So I can do with one Pot of Extravagance to take my chances that really Zeus and Anima and Linkuriboh still stay. Mainly just my Zeus walk, which I only really need Slacker Magician and Zeus for it, but you know, to get 2 wipes you want Downerd. Now for this I'm also adding Lost Wind, as well as Heavy Storm Duster, because since I, you know, only have one Lightning Storm, I still need some back row removal. So I got Mystical Space Typhoon. We got Heavy Storm Duster. I also have Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi because that card is awesome. For stuff like this, you just set it there, wait for your opponent to destroy it, and then you get a free Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Like, that's really what I use it for. I don't use it for the Omni Negate. It would be nice though, but I don't use it for that. But I do have both Storming Mirror Force and Quaking Mirror Force. Even they don't destroy, but they're about disruption. We try to avoid effects that destroy except for field wipes, and Mirror Force might count as a field wipe, sort of. I mean, it probably could count as a field wipe. I probably could add regular Mirror Force in here. I put Lost Wind in here because Lost Wind is just a really great underrated permanent effect negation card. Similar to Droplet, but different categories, and Lost Wind comes back and you don't have to get rid of it as much. So, you know, I also put Monster Reborn in here. I might actually put regular Mirror Force in here just to add to the field wipe, because I also lost 2 Dark Holes. So I do need some Monster Destruction field wipes, just like I lost 2 of my evenly matched. So it's rough out there, but you know, that's what makes it one of a kind, and is actually a format I'm kind of interested in to see how this actually goes and see what the meta will be for this one card. I've run into some stuff already, but you know, it is what it is. So I'll leave it at that. That's too much. Spent too much time talking about this anyways. This video's getting way too long for what I thought it would be, so I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. Hope to see y'all in the next one. I'm out.